Ome wa mo shinderu.
NANI?!
What is going on, and welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Dan, and today we present to you the only Yone guide you will ever need. We broke down the champion to its basics and even covered all the advanced strategies that he can execute. Yone is a unique champion with high carry potential, so make sure you watch until the end so you can stomp the pesky Yasuo players with him. For our question of the day, which other character's family member would you love to see be introduced to League of Legends? Personally, I would love to see Kassadin's mom be released as a champion, since in one of his voice lines, he says he tried to silence his mother one time, but boy did he regret that. Feel free to put lore aside and get really creative. I really look forward to seeing what you guys can come up with. Before we get started, make sure to visit our website at ProGuides.com, where we have live group classes from top-tier instructors like Zyrene, Mike Young, Saskio, and Poe Belter. There's even courses from your favorite players like Double Lift, Loco Doco, and Night Blue. With that being said, let's jump straight to the video. Yone is insane. He has crazy damage output with so much outplay potential. He is Yasuo's brother, so you can guess a lot of the abilities are similar in effect and execution. Yone is a melee character classified as an assassin, so you will often find him coming into fights after the initial engagement. The great thing about him is his safety net when he wishes to enter a fight and DPS before flying back to safety. Yone seems to have some flexibility, so be prepared to see him played in multiple roles. As we just stated earlier, Yone's abilities are similar to Yasuo's, but there are some interesting mechanics that Riot Games implemented into his gameplay. Let's break it down and give you a better understanding of what each skill does. Starting with Yone's passive, Way of the Hunter. Similarly to Yasuo, Yone doubles his total critical strike chance from all sources. The other part of his passive allows his basic attacks to alternate between his Steel Sword and Azakana Sword. Yone begins to attack with his Steel Sword normally, and his basic attack from Azakana deals 50% physical damage and 50% AD magic damage. The Q, known as Mortal Steel, lets him swing his Steel Sword in a target direction, dealing physical damage and applying on-hit effects. If Mortal Steel hits an enemy, Yone gains a Gathering Storm stack for 6 seconds. If Yone has 2 stacks of Gathering Storm, Mortal Steel consumes the stacks to dash a fixed distance in a target direction while unleashing a Whirlwind and both dealing damage and knocking enemies up. Yone's W, Spirit Cleave, cleaves in a cone in front of him, which deals both physical and magic damage. Yone then shields himself for 1.5 seconds if Spirit Cleave hits an enemy champion. His E, Soul Unbound, allows Yone to dash a fixed distance, gaining Spirit Form for 5 seconds and creating a clone. Yone gains bonus movement speed and marks champions with basic attacks or abilities, and stores damage she deals to each enemy champion. Upon recast or the timer runs out, Yone will detonate the mark and deal true damage equal to the stored amount to champions and dashes back to his body. Lastly, Yone's ultimate, Fate Sealed, is the ultimate anime attack. Yone winds up a forward strike, then blinks in the target direction. After a short delay, all enemies between Yone and the casting position are stunned for 0.15 seconds, then immediately deal both physical and magic damage. Enemies are then pulled towards Yone and knocked up for 0.9 seconds. Quick pointer, similar to Leona's E, Yone's ultimate will always blink to the target champion furthest away on cast. Now that we've broken down the basics to his abilities, let's talk about a couple advanced tactics. Speaking of advanced tactics, if you want to become a Yone god, grab a coach from ProGuides.com and learn how to stomp solo queue. Starting off with the double knockup. A way you can hold targets in the air for as long as possible is by charging up your Q until its knockup is available. From there, use your ultimate and knock up your opponent, and immediately use your Q to knock them up again. This combo can hold targets in certain areas long enough for teammates to assist or to engage a fight. This is the great thing about Yone, because previously Yasuo loses his Q stacks when he uses his ultimate. The bread and butter combination will always look different depending on each situation, but the general idea is to use your E to get into the fight and output as much DPS as you can with your abilities before you fly back. So make sure you check that your E position is where you want to fly back to, and secondly, whether you will want to go back to that position after fighting, because sometimes maybe not using E might be good. Going into his runes and builds, let's run through the setups we're likely to see. Starting off with the most common rune page, you will take Conqueror, Triumph, Alacrity, Coup de Grace, Taste of Blood, Ravenous Hunter. This page is the exact same one Yasuo runs, because Conqueror will give you more damage and sustain once you have it charged. Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter will give Yone more ways to heal since he does not have built-in sustain. The only thing that can be changed in this page is running Cut Down if the enemy team has many tanks, or Last Stand if the enemy team has a lot of burst. The second page we'll talk about is running Hail of Blades, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Triumph, and Alacrity. Surprisingly, Yone's third Q does not proc Hail of Blades, so if you want to demolish your mid lane matchup, you can dash in with your third Q and instantly get 3 auto attacks to proc our passive as early as level 1 for a ton of damage. A less common rune page will include Fleet of Footwork when playing into champions with heavy poke. Examples of these champions include Vel'Koz and Xerath. Both of these characters will never give you opportunities to gap close and deal damage, which will render Conqueror and Hail of Blades useless. So specifically into matchups like these, try the rune page once and see if you like it. Lastly, Press the Attack will be a very weird rune page to run. However, we decided to include it because there are very niche scenarios where you would want to run this page. In matchups where stacking Conqueror isn't possible and having fast attacks from Hail of Blades won't be worth it. These situations could include champions like Kassadin or Singed, who are slippery but you want to proc PTA on them so they take more damage from all sources. That's our spicy take of the video. If you want a platform to discuss more about Yone's runes, feel free to join our Discord, where there's a great community of like-minded players open to debate these topics. Now that we understand the rune pages that can be run on Yone, let's cover all the potential builds he can go into. The core build will always consist of getting 100% crit chance until somebody creates a crazy build with no crit. Since Yone's passive doubles his crit chance, you only need 50% to get to 100%, so your first 3 items will include Berserker Greaves, Phantom Dancer, and Infinity Edge. Once you reach this point of the build, you can always adapt accordingly to the situation. To name a couple, look to purchase Blade of the Ruined King if the enemy team has many tanks, along with having Cutdown. Guardian Angel is a good option if the enemy team has a lot of bursts in order to stay alive longer. Lastly, Mercurial Scimitar is a really good option when the enemy team has a lot of crowd control abilities like Ash Arrow, Twisted Fate Stun, or even Zoe Bubbles. With that being said, let's talk about a side build you can try if you want to opt into more damage. Instead of purchasing PD, you will grab Static Shiv. This item still offers 25% crit chance and a magic damage proc, so you will be stacking that magic damage throughout the course of the game. But the real kicker is, not only do you clear waves faster, whenever your Static Shiv procs, the Ravenous Hunter rune actually heals you off of it, so you will have a lot more sustain. Since you aren't building a lifeline item, you can now opt into Maw of Malmortius, so look to try this build into heavy AP team compositions to open up your build path to that item. However, we will have to include the downsides of not building a Phantom Dancer. You will lose the 7% bonus movement speed and ghost through minions, while also taking longer to reach a lifeline item. Now that we understand Yone's build and a couple advanced tactics, let's bring it back to some tips and tricks and basic combos you want to do throughout the game. 1. When trading in lane, stack up your Qs until you get the knockup available. From here, use E to gap close and knock up your opponent. Follow up with an auto attack and W and instantly dash back with the second part of your E before the enemy champion even does anything. 2. Mortal Steel's Thrust, which is Yone's third Q, will reset to 0.1 seconds if it's interrupted by hard crowd control, so be on the lookout to spam it once you escape. 3. Your knockup Q and E can be used to get over walls, so find those cheeky gap close opportunities when chasing enemies. 4. We all know that you can use Yone's R to get over walls, but there are a couple of spicy walls you can get over if you ult a specific way. I look forward to seeing those crazy Yone entrances into teamfights in style. 5. Have you ever tried a W flash to finish somebody off? Regardless of where you press your W, it will always redirect to the direction that you flash in, so use this knowledge how you will. 6. If you're playing against a Caitlyn, or know the enemies will camp where you will E back towards, purchase a stopwatch and use it upon arrival so you can dodge out on a huge amount of burst from the enemy team. 7. Our last tip is when you kill somebody with your ultimate, calmly say, "Nothing personal, kid," and push up your glasses as you walk away, since cool people don't look at explosions. With all the knowledge that you have on Yone now, let's break down exactly how you want to play him at each stage of the game. During the early game, you want to avoid poke from the enemy laner and try to reach level 3. Be mindful of trying to poke with your third Q, because you will fly forward, potentially putting you in range to get hit by enemy abilities. Once you're level 3, use our first basic tip, which is to get your third Q and E forward, followed by the knockup and W, and retreat back with your second E cast. Huge tip we have is to micro auto attacks in between some of your abilities to maximize damage and Conqueror stacks. Transitioning to the mid game at roughly 15 to 20 minutes. If your bot lane wants to rotate mid to control objectives, don't be afraid to side lane. You have a lot of tools to outplay 1v1 and even 1v2 scenarios, so look to push lanes and rotate to help establish vision with your team. If a team fight breaks out, then pull out your moves and get those YouTube highlights ready to go. Late game is going to be a clown fiesta, so group and look for opportunities to land crazy ults and use the rest of your combos accordingly. Be confident in your ability usage and focus on key targets on the enemy team since you have so much backline entry with all of your abilities. That concludes our latest video on Yone. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to join our Discord below where we do tons of coaching giveaways and community events. Lastly, don't forget to visit our website at ProGuides.com where you can receive coaching from top players, watch live classes, and improve with coaches from pro players. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Thank you all so much for watching, and good luck out on the Rift.